Today I just want to talk a bit about this entire Maga movement and how it's pretty much self-imploding and mutating into something that I think it's completely different. Now, let's start from the start. A bit more light here. Better this way, right? Um, Trump, he is getting more weak. He's getting more, how can I put this in a polite way? He's decaying as we look at him. He's becoming a weak person. He's becoming a noisy person, someone that continuously screams. And little by little, at least apparently, the Democrats are recuperating some of the power within the United States. So, unless there is some kind of uh, violent takeover of power by the ones supporting the Trump regime and Trump movement, the Maga movement, whatever you want to call it, unless that happens, what is going to happen is this government will inevitably come to a standstill until his term ends. Then you will have elections and you will have a new president that will probably, in all probabilities, be a Democrat. Because you already have Republicans defecting from the movement. This all started with all those convulsions that are still happening inside of the MAGA movement, with people like that guy that got shot, Kirk, I think Kirk, and now his wife, and Nick Fuentes, and all of those characters. You know, you look at them and you see them as a runaway train. I think that's a good analogy. But if there is a will, someone with cojones, to take over the movement and turn it into something else, you will have a full blown fascist state. Because what you have now is a semi-authoritarian regime. Because he's just doing things that an authoritarian would do. He's not accepting court orders. He's criticizing everyone that tries that tries to counter his measures. But especially, he's destroying the economy. He's making a lot of people, I believe the same people that have put him in power, lose money. Bit of water. And the key issue here is money. Because the what I have come to understand from the let's call it analysis that I've been doing. Sorry, you have to understand English is not my first language. Okay, the analysis that I've been making from the entire movement of the MAGA movement and all of this in the United States is that what fuels it is essentially money and power, and the power to deregulate the state in order to allow private companies to have a full they can do whatever they want without the surveillance of the state. This is why, for example, they don't like a more surveilled states in this case, because it's more than one, like Europe, and I'm including the United Kingdom in this too, because with all its faults, the United Kingdom, the state still has some control over the country, even if there is a lot of uh, corruption going around with the donation system, which that is the reason why the rest of Europe cancelled those types of influences in politics, because we have to be honest with ourselves. Okay, there is already influence in politics. Okay, even in countries that have no donation system, like most of the countries in the EU, money still counts, because money still creates jobs. Money still creates uh, industries, manufactures, business that provides taxes to the state, to the municipalities. Okay, and but let me be also very clear. I like capitalism. Okay, I don't want to live in some kind of socialist utopia, USSR style. I know some people would like that, but to me, in my view, that destroys one of the key issues that I hold very dear to myself, principles, so to speak, which is individuality. In what sense? I'm not talking about some kind of selfish individuality where you do whatever you want to do, mm, and you have no regards for absolutely anyone. I'm talking about the simple individuality of sitting here with a camera and recording a video and putting it out there, talking with people. Because as I told you again, I will repeat this again, I'm just a guy. No, imagine we are sitting in a cafe. It's a good day to talk. We are just here sitting and talking. Okay? I don't condone violence. I don't condone those types of things, because uh, at the end of the day, all of that is just destructive behavior. You might have, look, in my youth, when I was really young, I was an anarchist, but I never was able to be completely uh, sold into that theory of freedom. If you don't understand what anarchism is, please go and read it. Okay, I'm not talking about anarchism in the sense of confusion and violence. No, no. I'm talking about the political ideology. And like most anarchists, I know, we understand that the form of anarchism that we need in our societies is individuality. It's the right of a person to have personal rights, to have to be able to not have to care what the rest of society thinks about you. In the sense that if you don't want to belong to one of the mainstream religions, if you want to be, I don't know, a pagan, a Satanist, whatever you want to be, okay? If you, for example, if you are trans, if you are gay, if you simply don't want to bother with sex, there are also people like that. That you have the right to do that, and that also you have the right to not be bothered about it. So basically, it's not meddling with your neighbor's business. This is why I always say this. When people start talking about the trans problem and the trans this and the trans that, look. I was trying not to swear in this video, but I'm going to swear. I just tell them to shut the fuck up. You don't know what that person is going through. You don't know why that person is like that. And the issue here is, why should you bother yourself about that? About that person's? It's their life. It's their body. It's their choice. there's a lot of paternalizing concern about other people's life. You know, the entire Trump movement, and I'm talking about this because this has a context in the conversation that we are having. The entire Trump movement is trying to get some kind of daddy state to end as some kind of a socialist boogeyman. And the most ironic about this is that the Trump regime has acted basically as a socialistic Soviet style regime, replacing people that are not according to the party lines, replacing them for sycophants, okay, taking decisions centrally without any regard for the courts, for Congress itself, even if Congress is still under Republican control, okay, and creating an immigration police with above the law powers that are now fading in some states, because there are some states and some cities that are saying that ICE agents cannot do this, cannot do that. Okay, these are all typically socialist in that sense, because look, let me just rephrase this so that there is no doubt. I'm not talking about the type of social democracy which has a socialist base also that we have here in Europe. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about that kind of totalitarian socialism of state, in which you have left, you call it left wing. I don't even like to divide ideologies between right and left. I love our bottle caps that stay attached to the bottle. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that type of socialism of state in which the state controls all, in which the state controls the policies, in which the state controls the productive means, the resources, the people themselves. Or what should the people read, what should the people listen to. And you see this. He's just using social media, this case X, and even the platform where we are right here, YouTube, is just using that as the propaganda means. This is why right now, if you make a comment or a video and you put a keyword in that video, your videos will not be seen. Mine are seen because, thankfully, there are a lot of people that apparently like to listen to me speaking, talking about things, and they watch my videos and they share with other people, and other people watch my videos, and I get a couple of views. But like I said from the beginning, in this channel, right, this channel here, it's not monetized. This is solely me talking about politics, reasoning with you. Nothing of this, nothing that you are seeing is scripted. Right now, I was just sitting here. I just turned on the camera and I started to talk. Literally. After making a comment on the video. And as I was saying, you have this type of totalitarian, socialist type governance in which you have a figurehead, the dear leader, Mr. Trump. Then you have these accessories, the family of Mr. Trump, okay, the people in cabinet, like that blonde girl that keeps talking, Caroline, I think is the name. I think it's. You will have to forgive me if I don't really know their names, because to me, from my political perspective, they look exactly the same. They are there just to voice the opinion of the movement. Nothing more. There is no individuality in Kash Patel. There is no individuality in Om. There is no individuality in Miller. There is no individuality in Levitt. There is no individuality in any of them. They are just pieces of a car, cogs in a machine. Sorry. Because if you go down to it, if you listen to them talk, it's exactly the same speech. There is no difference. They are all saying the same things. No, it's it's absolutely baffling to me that some people have such heated arguments about she said this or she said that. You know, in my view, one of the purest, and look, and I'm not talking Auschwitz, I'm not talking about you, okay? No, no, Regan Lead, I'm also not talking about you. I'm talking about other YouTubers. You have a different way of doing things, but I think the most pure way of judging and seeing the characters of these people is the way that Daily Blase, another of the channels that's linked right here, the way he looks at them and mocks them, and how honest he is mocking them and showing them. Now, today it's Friday, today, and I was in the stream of the Friday Frolics, and he was showing videos. Look, it's for a laugh, it's fun. No, it's hilarious. Okay, the chat is also very good. No, decent people, funny people. Okay, some you might like more than others, but in general, normal people. Okay, and the way that he was mocking with them of this entire troop of Maga idiots. Sorry, it's the absolutely most pure way of seeing what they are, and not polishing my knob. Okay, not making myself very smart. Okay, or whatever. This is what I see. I look at these people and I see beyond all this crap. And all I see is petty, selfish, narcissistic, grifter people. Trump is basically feeding his family, giving them jobs, and himself, giving them money, giving them power, and generally treating the office of President of the United States of America as a joke. And I don't hear many Americans talking about this. I hear the Democrats talking about what they are doing, how there are, I think, around 20 Republican congresspersons have already defected, so to speak, to the positions of the Democrats. I hear all of that. Okay, I hear how courts have forced Trump to not do this and not do that. I hear them criticize that shit show that is creating in Venezuela. I hear them talking about his subservience and allied position with Putin. I see all of this, and none of that is incorrect. Okay, but I don't see anyone questioning this simple question, this simple little thing. how can you tolerate a person like that being your president? And you say he was elected. Okay. You don't have any fail-safes? Hmm? Oh, we just have to do this in Congress and do that in Congress. Look, have you listened to his speeches in social media? Have you heard him talking about your allies that are getting scarce, and that if you get rid of him, I don't know how many allies you're going to have when all of this ends? This is not normal. Okay, a normal person doesn't talk like that. And you'll say, "Oh, it's his way," and his supporters know they think it's very funny, whatever. And I will tell you this again: politics is no laughing matter. Some people criticize me when I say this, but I will tell you this: I like my politicians boring. If I look at a politician and I want to have a drink with him, okay, or have a laugh, I'm not going to vote in him. Maybe it's the German side talking, I don't know. But there are a lot of Portuguese persons just like me that have the same stance. I have brothers, okay, and some of them are like me, and some of them just don't care about politics. But most of us, we think like this because I don't want someone that makes me laugh taking care of my taxpayers' money, taking care of defending my rights, taking care of making the state in which I live in a good place to live. No, I want boring cunts. I want the type of person that I would rather spend a hangover morning, okay, in the church, listening to a priest, and Catholic in my case, okay, telling me about hell and about Jesus and all of that. I would rather, and after a long night of drinking and completely hangover, you know those types of hangovers when even your eyebrows hurt. I would rather go through that than to if that person makes me go through that's experience. I'm voting for them. I want him boring. I want him competent. I don't want demagogues. I want people that are there, that are precise and anal about the details. You know, the type of person that if you buy something and your change is 1.2 euros, he's going to give you 1.2 euros. He's not going to give you 1.3 or 1.1. It's 1.2 euros. And this is the type of people that you in America need. You need people that are stern about what is important. You talk about rights. My right for this, my right for that. Where is your right for healthcare? Where is your right to have food that doesn't cause genetic changes in your offspring? You have been eating things that create genetic problems in your children and in yourself, of course. But if you don't know how genetics works, okay, it's your offspring that's going to suffer the consequences of the poor quality of food that you are eating. They are the ones that are going to suffer it. And it has been proven that things like, for example, the titanium, I don't know what, that you use in your Fanta, for example, and other shit that they put in your food, you are poisoning yourselves and your generations to come. You are poisoning the mind of your generations to come with the lack of culture, with the lack of education. And look, education is more than, for example, have a very good engineer. What is the use of having a good engineer if that person doesn't even have the common sense of understanding the world that is around him, of understanding quality of food, of understanding work-life balance, and then they say, "Oh, but this way we earn more money and we go get it and whatever." Productivity, the productivity of the average European worker, with all those rights that you call socialists and that we call normal, is equal or higher than the average American worker. Meaning, me, a European worker, I work, my work, I take more, I give more from my work in terms of productivity than most of you do. Without vacations, without healthcare that is paid via our taxes, okay, without rights. So what is the logic of living that way? Of having your waiters and your servers in the restaurants and whatever depending on tips, and now putting tips in everything, so that the company that is employing those people is not forced to give them a decent salary. Or you buy every kind of shit from big companies, a lot of it that you don't even need. Of having a saying that is so simple, but that shows the fundamental difference between a European and an American. I went to the supermarket today, and I'm going to tell you what I bought. It was today at lunchtime. I have 1 hour to have my lunch, and I didn't brought anything to the office. So I went out. I have no patience during the week to go to a restaurant or whatever. Okay, and besides, it's much more expensive. I go to the supermarket. I buy myself a nice juice of a Portuguese brand. I buy myself some smoked salmon that I love, Norwegian. You want to know the price? Okay, €3.99, so €4. I buy myself some nice bread. I don't know, it was a small one. 90 cents, I think. And the juice was €1 because it was a liter bottle. Bottle box in this case, a box. What did I bought? Oh yes, then I also bought some cucumbers, and then a couple of more things. But the key issue here, le petit cornichon, the cornichon. This is what I also bought. And the key issue here is this. When I arrived at the till, I already knew in my mind how much I was going to spend, because I picked up the juice, Doing one. Then the bread, 90 cents. Okay, one, two. I make the mathematics or the maths in my head before I arrive at the till. I have a notion of how much I'm going to need to pay for my groceries, like your president likes to say. This is a fundamental right. Do you have any idea how much control this gives to us? Or going for the supermarket to the supermarket, for example, and when I don't have time to go to a butcher or something like that. Sorry, bit of analogy. It's the weather. The weather is very cold and very wet right now, and I'm near the coast, and you know, and you have such control over your life. The control, for example, of if I'm feeling sick, and even with all the issues our healthcare system is going through, because we are reshuffling and changing procedures, and look, I call this growing pains, but it's not. But to grab my phone, okay, and I'm feeling sick, like it happened to me, and I entered in the app. Okay, an attendant, a nurse, heard me. I told her what was going on. She asked me if I could drive, or so I have some way to go to the local hospital, which is from my area around 5 minutes, around 12 kilometers, something like that. Okay, 5-10 minutes. I said I could. She said, "All right, then I recommend that you go straight to the hospital." I go into the hospital. I arrive at the emergency room. The person behind the desk, I tell him, from because this name is Saúde 24, which literally means health 24 hours. I talk with the lady. She asks for my name. My data is already in my let's call it in my how would you say it? It's not short. My data is already in that system, healthcare system. She just asks me to confirm a couple of things. Then she asks me to sit for a while. 5 minutes later, I'm called in. I go into a room, waiting room, big waiting room. A nurse calls me. Go into a cabinet, go into an office. Okay. She looks at my paperwork. She asks me how am I feeling, whatever, what is my issue. She gives me a band that goes from green to yellow to red. Okay, I got an yellow band because I was not very well. I was not dying, so it was not a red band. Okay, I sit for a while there. I don't know. 10 minutes later, I'm called in to the treatment room. A nurse looks at me, talks with me, takes me to a doctor, a lady doctor in this case. She looks into my chart. She doesn't like it. Let's not go into it, but it's not good. Okay, it's not very good sometimes. In that moment, now I'm better. Okay, and immediately they tell me to wait a while. I just wait, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. The one of the nurses calls me. I go into a little division of the treating room. I get an immediate shot. They make me sit down in a chair in the treating room. They open an area, what they call an entry point. Okay, which is basically a way for them to draw blood from you and or to give you some medicine. They draw blood from me. Okay, I make other exams that I needed to make. Okay, let's not get into it. I sit there, I get treated. Uh, every once in a while, the doctor, the lady doctor, comes into the room, looks at me, looks at the other patients, goes into they have kind of a center console where the nurses are sitting down, the male nurses, the female nurses, whatever, they are nurses for us. They are sitting down, they are working in the computers, monitoring the patients, doing their work. Okay, she goes into that, she looks, sees how it is. Because this was related with my blood pressure, they come over, they take my blood pressure as the medicine does its effect, uh, two, three, four times. I don't recall. Be honest, because I just look. I just sat down and relaxed, because there is no use of you getting worried or getting nervous, because if you are nervous, you are going to innerve other people around you. Okay, and being in that place with people, some of them that are worse than you, some of you that are better than you are just going to innerve other people. Okay, but I sit there, then she comes around. I'm taking takes me into an office. She talks with me. She explains to me what is happening. She gives me the treatment shot, the treatment, yeah, I guess you could call it a chart. She gives me the treatment program. She tells me what medicine I'm going to have to buy tomorrow. It cost me €4 on my part for three types of different blood related, blood pressure related medicine. And I have another paper which, but this is all, and remember this is all also in the system. So if I didn't want the papers, I could have it right here in my phone. It's in the system. I can also access it via my PC. This is okay. And I just she goes over my vitals again. She asks me if I feel up to driving home, or if I shouldn't to call someone. I'm all right to drive. Okay, I'm a pretty cold guy, cold really. So I don't succumb to emotions very often, thankfully. And I go out. I am medicated. I am treated. I know exactly what I have. I know exactly what I have to do. I go home the next day, and remember, I go home fully medicated for 2 days. But Sunday, I go and buy the medicine that I need for euros. Monday, I call my job. I say I have to go directly to the health center. I go to my healthcare center, local. I show them the paperwork. A nurse looks over my paperwork, looks over me. They set up an appointment in 2 days. 2 days later, I go there, and now I'm being followed for treatment in the health center. I went there this week, and I have another appointment in mid-January, and I have a couple of exams that include blood draw and monitoring apparatus that I will have to use for 24 hours, whatever. You understand. In 6th of January, I think, if I recall. Alright. Why? Because I pay my taxes. Because I'm an honest person. And even if I didn't have any money, I would also be considered a citizen, and I would also have these rights. An ambulance here If it's an emergency service, an emergency situation, you are not going to pay one bloody cent. If you need an ambulance as a service from the fire department, they do this type of things to transport you to some an appointment or whatever. You will also pay, but your part of that fee will be, look, peanuts. To be honest, right now as we talk, I could, with my identification, which I seem a lot of you don't like to have IDs. I don't know why. Maybe because you don't have strong laws to protect your data that can be bought and sold by anyone. Around here, it's a bloody crime. I can access right now in my health in the program. Okay, I can access all of my data. See all the go back and see all of these procedures that were done to me. And then I hear Americans say that if you cannot work, then you should not have healthcare. Or I pay for my healthcare and that is the way it should be. And all of these brutalities that have nothing to do with the real world. Because each and every one of us someday, sometime needs a helping hand. And being citizens of a state that cares about you, that wants you to have good food to eat, that wants you to be healthy, that wants you to be productive, it's a win-win situation. The state has people that work, that pay taxes, that enrich and strengthen that state. Okay? And you are better off. And this is, going back to the beginning of our talk, why I cannot be an anarchist anymore. Because I have learned the need to have a state. I'm not talking about a state that will meddle into each and every one of your business. Like I was saying, the state. This is why around here, they, instead of dealing politically with things like transgender people, it's a medical issue. If a person here uh, feels like he might be transgender, or knows, most of them, the real transgender people, they know they are. Sorry, if you don't believe in that, that is your problem. I have talked with people that are indeed transgender, and I have understood what they feel. They go to the doctor. They make an appointment in the healthcare center. They go talk to the doctor. They tell him or her whatever what is happening, and then they go through a process, which is psychological evaluations, physical evaluations, to see if that person is really a transgender person or just someone with some kind of deviation. Deviation, not in the sense of a negative deviation. Deviation meaning something different than the norm, which is something people don't. Sometimes people look at the medical jargon and they make assumptions they should shut up. A deviation is something that is different from the norm. Okay? That is all that it is. Nothing more, nothing less. And if the person really needs to go to that process, they go through the process up until the moment of the operation to fully change their sex, their gender. And after that, it's a medical declaration that they take to the civil records, which is also a part of the state. They go to the civil records and they change their gender. And from then on, it's going to figure, it's going to be written in the gender of that person for all intended purpose, that that person is the gender that the person has assumed. And why not? If you don't like transgender people, you don't need to talk with them. You don't need uh, to to live with one, for example. You don't know. You don't need to date one. You just need to leave them the fuck alone. Fuck off. Leave people alone. Who cares? Don't you have anything better to do with your life? I really don't. Look, I don't waste my time thinking about these things. I don't waste my time thinking about what people do with their bodies, what people do with their lives. And some people will say, "Oh, you don't care. You don't have. You are not a citizen." No, I am a citizen precisely because of that. Because I understand that in a society, a lot of people are going to be a lot of different. No, people will be different, and we need to have a limit to what is the intervention of the state in people's private matters. And it surprised me that such a defender of personal rights state like the United States would be so Puritan and conservative and so meddling into people's rights. When you are trying to impose me your religion, your sexual preferences, or your way of even your way of speaking in your prejudice, you are meddling into my rights. There is more. This is why I say that you in America, you don't have free speech. Sorry, but you don't. And I'm also sorry for this long rant. Well, my kitty has dropped by. Hello, baby. She's I think she wants to know. There she is. Hello. I think she's wondering why am I talking to myself. Yes. Well, with that, I'm going to end this video. I hope you like it. It was just a little rant. I'm going to make a couple of more videos this weekend, if I can. And if you are in the Americas, United States, I hope you are safe. And I hope that if you watched my video, this will help you think. Because really, like I said in the beginning of the video, this is just a talk. You're just talking, nothing more. So, be safe.